Ask the Mayor on KWBE with Beatrice Mayor Stan Wirth. If you have a question, 228-5923 or 5924, give us a call. We'll pass along your question. Good morning, Stan.
Morning, Doug.
Haven't had you on for a little while here.
I had a couple of week hiatus, and I appreciate those that stepped in and filled in for me. So every now and then there's other things that divert my attention someplace else.
Yep. Head City Administrator Tobias Templemeyer and new Police Chief John Hickman.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
Good to have both of them in the past couple of weeks. And gosh, you're going to be off next week, too, because this county government will bring that in. So we're giving you kind of a break here.
I really appreciate that.
Is this part of retirement or what?
Hey, it's summer. Come on.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, Homestead Days underway in Beatrice, I guess officially today through Sunday, but there were some events Wednesday as well, just some exhibits and
car show, and there were some other things that happened.
So kind of almost a week-long celebration if you count all the days. A big thing for Beatrice, though, because not only for residents here, but maybe draw some visitors.
Absolutely. 44th annual, and I'm almost hesitant to say I can still remember the first. And it's an event that is sponsored by several different organizations, including the Homestead National Historical Park. City of Beatrice does an awful lot of work as far as setting out barricades and helping direct traffic and things like that. Obviously, the Beatrice Chamber of Commerce plays a big role. The Beatrice Public Library, the museum, and also Main Street Beatrice. Main Street Beatrice's Rib Fest is going to be on Saturday evening.
The parks always look really nice, but I think this time of year, too, there's maybe just a little extra effort.
There's a little extra dolling up that we're doing. Street sweepers are out trying to keep trying to get the streets as clean as possible. I even saw some of the city employees with leaf blowers just kind of getting rid of some of the debris that's in the streets, just because we're going to have a lot of visitors in our community.
Then there's also the kind of police help with things like the parade, a big event coming up on Saturday, and they just help kind of patrol the area. So there's a lot that kind of goes on behind the scenes that maybe
there really is.
I
have the opportunity again to judge the parade. I think this is going to be 7, maybe 8 years in a row now, and so. Looking forward to that.
You haven't gotten anybody mad at you yet for your judging, or
not so far. It's a good thing that there's other judges too, so
you can kind of
they can weigh the averages,
sort of spread out the liability there or whatever. So, but one of the things, of course, almost a couple of weeks ago, very damaging hailstorm in Beatrice, which kind of affected more, I think, the north and east sides of the community than it did the west and south. Although I'm sure there was branch damage and things like that, but the big problem was the hail. From the city's standpoint, what in the way of facilities, vehicles, did you have any damage?
We did. Now, to the extent of what that damage is, that hasn't been made totally clear yet. Insurance adjusters have been looking at different public properties and making an assessment of what that damage is going to look like. But yes, there was some. And there will be some claims that we will turn in and just kind of take a look at what we have to do and how much damage actually the storm resulted in.
Any one or two buildings in particular really take the hit? Or
I think maybe Chautauqua Park, you would have seen some damage. The water park, I think, might be another area that we'll take a look at. Again, until we get the report back, we really don't know what the total extent is.
Seems like always the car damage is more obvious with the broken windshields and dents, but
the big
roof,
old dents.
Yeah, but the roof damage, you look at some and you go, well, unless you get an expert up there and kind of really take a look at what's going on.
And judging by the number of roofers that are in our community today, it tells me that there was some extensive damage and there will be a lot of roofs in our community replaced.
Yeah. I noticed on your website you had put out kind of a cautionary message about roofing, to make sure you're dealing with somebody local, somebody reputable, because during storms like this, and this isn't just Beatrice, this is everywhere.
It's everywhere.
People come in from far distances away and offer, hey, we'll fix this up for you, no problem.
Right. And I think you have to indemnify yourself just a little bit by putting those disclosures out there, simply because there are those that are very reputable, but then there are those that maybe cross the line into the gray area just a little bit. And so I think it's necessary that we caution the public that just make sure that you're doing business with somebody that is, in your opinion, reputable, and in your opinion is, well, not in your opinion, but make sure that they're bonded. And there's no problem in asking for those qualifications.
And there are several contractors locally that do a good
Absolutely.
job, so there's a list to pick from.
Absolutely.
You have one roof on a city building. Library roof is going to be redone at some point, but understood that was bid out once, but is being rebid.
Right. We only had a couple of bids the first time, and so we are going to rebid that and open those bids on July the 12th. The language in the bidding prospectus, we changed a couple of sentences to allow maybe for a little more openness to some other bidders. Obviously, we want to get the right price. And so on July 12th, we're going to open bids again and take a look, and hopefully the project is completed by August.
How many times has the library roof been re-roofed?
That's a great question.
Been there a while. I'm not really sure.
It's been there a long time, even though I still call it the new library. I know at least twice, maybe three times it's been redone.
Yeah. Well, summer is always street construction work time, whether it's asphalt maintenance or overlay or reconstruction. In this case, have a big project going on a couple of blocks, one block of 4th and one block of Lincoln, and your 4th and Lincoln there, and kind of torn up right now, but that's when it's done, it's going to be a nice improvement.
It's going to be a real nice improvement. That project is well underway. The milling of the street was complete, and now they are doing the surface work, doing maybe some final grading, and pouring the concrete. I think they have until the end of July to get this project completed. Weather permitting, it may happen quite a bit sooner than that.
Yeah.
It seems like they're progressing real well.
The thought on using concrete rather than just going to a deeper, say, asphalt, what was the thought process there?
Only because it seems like it's an area where the base was not as stable as it needed to be. This gives us the opportunity to dig down in there and stabilize the base and use the concrete, and we just won't have to deal with it for a long, long time.
Yeah. You've had a few concrete projects.
We have.
So not real long ones, but
Right.
I mean, they've been improvements, though.
Absolutely. There's going to be, and the city employees will be doing this work along Oak Street. There's 3 or 4 different spots on Oak Street that needs to be repaired. Some of the concrete has heaved, creating obviously some not unwanted speed bumps, but that'll be taking place probably in the next couple of weeks.
Is that where they just kind of grind it down, smooth it out? Or?
Yeah, I think there's like 4 or 5 panels on at least a couple of locations that they're going to have to replace.
Okay. Another street project not too far away that I think was on the plans, if I remember right, was on 11th from Lincoln to Park.
Correct.
Going to that's an asphalt project. if I remember
That's a
right.
mill and overlay
Yeah.
project.
Okay.
They're going to do the handicap accessible ramps this year. They won't do the mill and overlay
I
work
see.
until next year.
I see. Okay.
So all of the concrete ramps will be completed anytime you change the complexion of the street to the point where you do a mill and overlay. It is required that then the handicap accessible ramps be replaced, or in some instances there are none there, and so every intersection will have that accessibility.
The most recent resurfacing, I guess, was right out here on Scott Street from Sumner to Sherman this
Right.
past year.
Right.
Other than 11th and this reconstruction project on Lincoln and 4th Street, any other resurfacing this year or reconstruction, or is that it?
Not really. That's going to be it. The armor coating has been completed. There's going to be asphalt rejuvenation. I think that takes place in the month of August. But that, I think we've covered all of the projects that are going on right now.
Went through kind of a period there where you're trying some different things as far as asphalt and the rejuvenator, and then a new process last year. Has there been some time to kind of judge which was the best on that, or what?
Well, I think the armor coating is, at this point, probably the best to help extend the life of some of those asphalt streets. The asphalt rejuvenator, however, has seemed to work pretty well, and I think that's why we're doing it again this year. And I think the jury's still out on how successful it has been.
All right. Mayor Stan Wirth with us today on Ask the Mayor. If you have a question, give us a call at 228-5923. Ask the Mayor today. Beatrice Mayor Stan Wirth in with us. One of the new additions to the Beatrice Fire and Rescue Department is a new rescue truck, and I think came in got the advantage of a demo truck, which maybe reduced the cost just a little bit.
Right. It was delivered this past week, and the four-wheel drive rig will replace a model that we have had in the fleet for some 25 years now. It's going to be equipped with all of the extrication equipment, similar to the Jaws of Life, any cutters and spreaders and that type of thing. And it's also going to be equipped with some water rescue equipment. We now have a boat ramp launch that we have to take into consideration that at some point in time may have to use that. And so that training will occur to the personnel. The cost of the truck was right in the neighborhood of $260,000 when it's fully equipped. We used about $200,000 of the CARES Act money to pay for the majority of the truck. The remainder then will come from the fire and rescue budget.
The truck, too, the old one, as I understand, is going to be traded in.
It
too,
is,
so,
right.
And, I remember I was talking with, I think, Captain Craig Fisher, and he said, you don't get a lot on those trade-ins.
No, you
on
don't.
Those vehicles.
But, it's something's better than nothing, and to replace a vehicle that's been in the fleet for some 25 years and utilizing some of the money that was available to us through the CARES Act, I think is something that is a real positive, to replace something that is going to, again, enhance the capabilities of the department.
And who knows, even on the trade-in, maybe there's some fire department out there that wanted a rescue truck,
sure.
and they can use it.
A smaller department that can use the truck, more power to them.
Yeah. You do know that, well, in this case it doesn't because you're trading one in, but as you add vehicles, then you probably need more space for, but you don't now.
No, we don't now. We're just replacing.
Yeah. And plenty of space in the fire department now. And that was the big thing, building that station.
Absolutely. Just because, as the community grows, so is the need for additional equipment. And we think we've planned ahead enough to where we can accommodate any new vehicles that we buy.
I had a caller question in when we were talking about storm damage to city facilities, and they were specifically referencing the library. If there is damage there, they were wondering, is there insurance payments for that, or is everything covered, or what?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All of our buildings are fully insured, and we have while we have a fairly high deductible. By the same token, we've got a lot of buildings that we have to insure on an annual basis, and so that's why the deductible is a little higher. But by the same token, it's all covered, and insurance will pay for it.
City Auditorium get any damage at all? Or
Don't know.
Not really.
Again, I haven't seen the adjuster's report, and the adjuster's going to look at all the buildings.
Yeah. That was maybe not quite in the storm zone, I think. That might have been a little...
Yeah, I mean, it was really spotty,
Yeah.
depending upon what part of the community you were in. The northeast part of the community, I think, suffered the most damage.
You really feel for homeowners and their vehicles and roofs, because it's not an easy process going through that all.
Well,
it takes a little while to recover.
It's not an easy
from everything.
fix.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna try to replace the hood on your vehicle, you're kind of at the mercy of the supply chain as to whether or not it's going to be easily accessible to get.
And body shops are really busy.
They're really busy
busier
right
than they
now.
were. That's they're always busy, but with that number of storm claims, I imagine they've got work backed up for quite some time. We kind of gotten into a little bit hotter weather here recently, and I was just curious as to what that might have done regarding water demand and electric demand. I know there's some communities where they're kind of in a drought zone, have been kind of struggling a bit with water use, and are setting some, odd, even watering days.
Right.
Where I know Fairbury has done something like that.
Right.
I think the Little Blue Natural Resources District sent out a notice about trying to conserve water. How's the city doing in that regard?
Actually, just fine. We have all of our wells are functioning properly. We have obviously the two standpipes that are filled with capacity, in addition to our underground reservoirs. We have an ample supply of water at our well fields, and so I think we're doing well, even though the demand's been higher. I've seen a lot of lawn sprinklers on, but so far so good, and we don't anticipate any issues.
Water is really an area you're focusing on, too, at that state loan program, as far as a second transmission source for low nitrate water, plus improvements in town. I know there's been a water main improvement out here near the radio station. You've got the downtown work. Eventually that will be done. So it's really kind of a focus of those things that maybe people don't see as often but are critical to.
Well, and I think that's a really good point. We're utilizing the state revolving loan fund through the state of Nebraska. That is going to allow us the opportunity to have a second feed from our well fields into the community. Maybe not turn it on right away, but we're going to have it in place just in case there is some type of a malfunction or compromise to the current system, that there won't be any interruption. And so I think planning ahead is really important. Again, we may not use it for several years, but when we need it, it's going to be there.
On the electric side, can you say anything about demand in that hot weather and how that's looking? Or
I haven't talked to Pat Feist, our electric superintendent, about that. Attended the Board of Public Works meeting a week ago, and there wasn't any discussion regarding any high demand. I don't think there's anything that is out of the ordinary, and nothing that we cannot handle.
It was kind of a short-term hot stretch. It wasn't like I had 2 or 3 weeks worth of it, but I guess it seemed like it there for a while, as warm as it was. But that's just one of those.
It's not the heat; it's the darn humidity.
Yeah, it is. That's what they say in Arizona and Colorado and Nebraska. Yeah, it's all a little bit different. So we'll be back to wrap up Ask the Mayor with Mayor Stan Wirth in just a moment. Have about 10 minutes left on Ask the Mayor today with Beatrice Mayor Stan Wirth. If you have a question, 402-228-5923. Give us a call. We've talked about this every once in a while on the program about the so-called lead and copper rule, and kind of the offshoot, the impact of the Flint, Michigan crisis, and the things that cities have to now go through to assess what's there. What's kind of the update on that as to how that's going with meetings between the city and residents about what they may have in their homes?
So communication has been sent out to all residents of Beatrice, some 5,000 homes that have been contacted. We have had reports that the property owner feels that they have a lead, or they have copper that is entering their home. And I think for the most part, that was not the case. City employees went out from the water department and viewed their service entries, and they did not have lead or copper entering. Now, is there going to be some? Absolutely. But we're still waiting for responses back from citizens. We'll more than likely need to communicate again through their BPW bill and help us by them filling out a survey, letting us know what they think they have, and if we have the ability to come out and take a look. We need their permission to enter their home. We'd certainly want somebody there at that time. So it's going to be a long process, but it is progressing pretty well. I think that we have, I don't know the exact count today. The last I saw was like 1,200 responses that came back, which is really a good start.
Good. Of course, the long-term question for somebody who owns, let's say, a really older established home, who may have a lead pipe here or there, what am I going to have to do? Is this all on my dime, or how does that work?
It's going to be a shared situation. If it's in your home, it's on your dime. If it's an entry that goes into your property from the city, then it's our cost.
I don't even know if there's if in those situations where it is only the homeowner's response, if there's any program of assistance that is offered. I'm not even sure.
I don't know that for sure.
I was thinking part of the infrastructure bill, but I'm not sure if that's the case or not.
This is a mandated study that we have to do, like all communities have to do, and it relates back to the situation that they had in Flint, Michigan, where they had a lead pipe situation that poisoned some of the water that goes into the homes.
I think the project's still going on, although I haven't driven by there. But you have kind of an unusual project where you're involved in replacing what was a private line, I think.
On 14th and Lincoln?
How's that going so far?
Real well. Had to remove a portion of 14th Street, and that will be replaced. We just certainly want citizens to know that we're not reverting back to gravel, but that will be replaced, and that the sewer main is a private main that those property owners that live there had probably nothing to do with when it was actually put in. It was many, many years ago. And so the city took it upon themselves to put it out for bids and replace that entire line that serves about, I think, 5 or 6 homes. And the cost was in the neighborhood of about $86,000. Had to obtain an easement from those property owners so that we could go in and maybe remove some trees and do the trenching that needed to be done for the sewer line. But that is progressing real well, and I'm not sure exactly what the timeline, Doug, is when it's going to be completed, but it should be shortly.
Is that the only location in the city where you've determined there was this situation with a private line, or are there others?
Oh, I think there are others.
Yeah.
Do I know exactly where they are? No, I don't. But this one was causing compromise to a couple of the property owners. In other words, there was some backup issues, and that needed to be resolved.
Yeah. One thing that, as far as drainage studies, water and everything, I have a couple of studies that have been going on. One deals with, I think, East Beatrice and the neighborhoods over there. The other one has to do with the Gage County Industrial Park. No, we haven't talked about that much lately, but what's the status on those studies?
The Tributary 44 is northeast Beatrice, and FHU Engineering is doing their study. They haven't given us their final report yet of the drawings and designs that need to be completed. They're working with our city engineer, James Burrows, to try to come up with some kind of compromise of how we can avoid some heavy runoff when we have heavy rains that affects some property owners.
Had a little bit of that in a couple of storms where along 19th and Ella has always kind of been a problem zone there.
Right.
Yeah.
And the industrial stormwater detention program, there was a meeting back in May to try to get some kind of a preliminary report. In the month of June, that's this month, we're expecting some kind of a final report to tell us what actually has to be done, and that's probably not going to tell us what the cost is going to be. It's just going to be a design of what it could look like and what we need to do.
Okay. Lincoln Corridor update. I know you'll soon get the report from the consultant regarding following the 2 public meetings that were held at Lincoln Elementary School, and maybe some of the options and the costs and things like that. Is that coming up soon?
Yeah, I think we should have that report completed sometime in the month of July. So within the next 30, 45 days, we should have the final report. Again, that doesn't give us any kind of cost analysis. It, however, gives us what they feel would be the best design based upon information gathered at the 2 public meetings.
Whichever options are selected will not be inexpensive, though, I would imagine.
I'm sorry.
It probably won't be inexpensive.
No, it
whatever
won't be.
options are
It
taken
won't
out.
be inexpensive, and we are anticipating maybe doing this in phases, simply because of affordability of when we can do it and how we can do it. There is some money through the CARES Act that, or the ARPA funds that we could utilize, but there are other people saying, this is a project I think we want to do. Could we utilize some of those funds for that? And so you only have so much money to go around, and we will utilize the best option. If we do it in phases, we'll pick the worst part of the project first, and then proceed from there.
I was wondering one time, between CARES Act funding, ARPA, and all that, any idea how much the city of Beatrice either received or is eligible for?
Well, I think in the CARES Act, it was in the neighborhood of $2 million. ARPA, about $3 million.
I see.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Which sounds like a lot, but when you start looking at
Well, when you
projects of various
when you look
lengths
at a
and-
Lincoln Street project, that's going to consume it all
Yeah.
plus.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's expensive.
Yep. One last item today, much less on the serious side, and that's pickleball.
Yeah.
You have tennis courts at Chautauqua Park that are rarely, if ever, used, I think,
Right.
because I think it has more to do with the surface of the, and maybe, the seams or whatever in concrete, but there's an effort to change them into pickleball courts, which I know very little about pickleball, but I do know the court is smaller, somewhere around 20 to 40 feet or something.
Right, and you
20
can
by 40.
and you can put a couple of pickleball courts on a full-size tennis court. You just go the different direction. There is some netting that has been put up. There is some additional money that needs to be raised because those proponents of the pickleball program who came to the city council and we agreed to assist with them. They need, they're looking for some additional fencing. They're pretty expensive. It's going to cost in the neighborhood of about $10,000. And they want to raise some money to help fund it in the city. Then we'll partner with them and see if we can't come to some compromise on who's going to pay what.
Well, you get to add a recreational alternative to the area, so that's not all bad.
And it's extremely popular. It's extremely popular, and it seems early on that it was just a senior citizen type of a recreational activity. There's a lot of younger people are interested in doing it too. Just because it's a smaller court, it's a faster game, and you probably get a pretty good workout.
Yeah, I think what you use, these kind of small paddles and like a plastic ball about the size of a baseball or a
Right.
softball or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
But wouldn't mind playing it, but I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I
So,
don't either.
Stan, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Doug.